Hello and welcome back to Shelf Center. This is Bryce. Thanks so much for stopping by. Thanks for liking and subscribing. This is something you end up enjoying. You never know. It could happen. Hey, this is my weekly-ish news segment where I talk about all things fantasy, science fiction, sometimes horror, as it relates mostly to books, but also to media. So let's just jump right into it. First things first, and I like to lead with the biggest if I can. I don't like to keep you waiting. Come on. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm just a booktuber. I'm a booktuber. Whatever. I don't know what I'm saying. Mike's Book Reviews brought this up on his Instagram, and he might have been joking around and stuff, but I thought there's some merit to what he's saying, so I figured I'd just dive down this rabbit hole that probably isn't one, and or is exactly what it is, and nothing burger, because we, at least as far as I know, haven't gotten anything really substantiated by this. But George R. R. Martin, on his Not a Blog, posted an interesting post on June 19th. And he titles it Words of Wisdom. There's another famous book that he's working on that has the same initials. This is what Mike was pointing out. Again, maybe Mike doesn't want me to attribute this to him. And then his words of wisdom that he posts are a quote from Roosevelt saying, essentially, the best prize is work hard at work worth doing. So is that him patting himself on the back for finishing the other WOW? Words of Wisdom. Winds of Winter. And maybe, could it be? Potentially. George likes to joke around. First thing I always check is it April 1st? He loves his April 1st jokes, although less and less of late, it feels like, because everyone just gives him a hard time for anything that he does, seemingly. That's not all undeserved. But anyway, I thought that was an interesting thing to bring up. Maybe, could be. I think, again, he's learned his lesson as far as announcing things too early. So, unless it's like fully done, will he be doing something? And again, maybe he's just had a good writing day. That could be it. It could just be it. Feeling good. Maybe he's just happy that, because isn't that the day, June 19th, I think, is the day before House of the Dragon Season 2 came out. So maybe it's just he's excited and pumped up for House of the Dragon 2. He doesn't always see what he does to the internet, I don't think either. And so anyway, I thought that was fun. Another bit of news that he also posted on his blog, and even more recently, Dunk and Egg, the Night of the Seven, or A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, started filming. These I'm really, really excited for. House of the Dragon, it's based on a book that and I've made it very clear on the channel, I don't love. It's not my favorite I like the events of it, but it's just such a history book. I was bored out of my mind reading it. The cool events, but I'm like, I didn't, I come to George to be shown the way, not to be told everything. And that's all the book is just completely 100% telling you everything. And then this happened, then this happened, then this. And I get it. Again, I'd rather have him doing that for an extra book in between all of the other books that he's supposed to be working on. But anyway, you know what I mean, right? I don't know. A lot of people love it, and I don't blame you for loving it. You're allowed to. On my channel, we love them all. Except for the ones that I don't. Just kidding. But anyway, started filming, got some stills first, and again, it's looking good. I can't really say anything so far. They've done really well, at least on the beginnings of series for Game of Thrones related stuff. So, they always hit the ground running there. It's clearly going to be one of those days where all the news keeps coming out right as I'm editing. So this is Editing Bryce here. Older and grayer, apparently. But anyway, big news. The Wind and Truth has been finished. I already mentioned that in my last news video. Brandon Sanderson, Book 5 in the Stormlight Archive. But it's got a cover, a UK cover at least so far. I have not seen a US cover yet, but a UK cover. And I'll be honest, I don't love it. I'm okay with them. I usually prefer overall, just kind of generally UK cover art to the US versions. But man, Michael Whelan, it's hard to beat. And I don't know, this one the UK one I like the kind of sun in the background. I like a lot of things, but the actual character himself, just, I don't know, it just seems too cartoony. Does that make sense? As it is a cartoon, it is a that's what it is, but I don't know, it just seems more like a kid's book. I don't know. That's kind of the vibes I'm getting here. Let me know. What do you think? Am I totally wrong? All right. Back to the news. Speaking of Patrick Leo, he did a little art reveal release from the Sun Eater series, because not only is he involved in Malazan, one of the best fantasy series out right now as far as the art direction for the Broken Binding, but now he's also involved in the Sun Eater series art direction with the Broken Binding, one of the best science fiction series ongoing right now. And so I just love that Patrick Leo's involved in it. This art is by Renee Eigner, and I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. I thought that was pretty cool. Last minute addition to the news. I had to add it in though, because this is exciting news. I love when booktubers succeed and get out there, especially and write their own books. So anyway, just super excited to see, and I love this cover. Aaron M. Payne, also known as Bibliotheory on the Tubes of You, has a book, and it's falling into oblivion, and it looks so cool. I'm loving this kind of futuristic, but there's like a dragon creature thing. I don't know. It looks awesome, and I can't wait. And I think that's just awesome. Putting oneself out there in more ways than one, and I just love it. So anyway, very cool news. Definitely go check that out. In just some little bit of navel gazing, not too much, but I just thought this was great, and these have been very supportive to my channel, so I figured I'd give them a shout out. Maybe too soon, but these just started literally in the last week or so. The Library on Legs, wanted to give a shout out to. Go subscribe. Literally, the legs are horse legs and not just human legs. I think that's pretty cool. We've been good friends on X or Twitter, and I get lots of good recommendations from the Library on Legs. And then again, been just a huge supporter of the channel, so I figured I'd send some love to Zamar of ZOMG Fantasy, and I don't know, maybe it's Zamar OMG Fantasy, so I noticed. But I love the names regardless, even though I don't know what everything exactly is going for. But the author of The Riven Earth, which first of all also looks good, but started his own booktube channel, wanted to give some love. Very much excited for that. I've been love his commentary on the channel, and been very lots of good energy, and I'm excited to see what the booktube channel brings. I'm going to try to keep doing that. I want to try to do that too. there's so many good booktubers out there, and I don't give enough love, and I know I benefited from getting a lot of love from booktubers. I never feel like I'm big enough to really help or whatever. I'm a big enough deal, right? I'm no Ron Burgundy here, okay? All right, then getting into the media. Let's jump into a couple things. I just thought this was cool. War of the Rohirrim. If you haven't heard, it's going to be, it's a Lord of the Rings animation. And it looks like it's kind of an anime-styled animation. There's been some images that have come out, and frankly, it looks good. So far, so good. I mean, there's been some weirdly, to me, animated things that I've really liked, some that I don't. I mean, so this looks good, looks cool, and different than I think what you kind of traditionally think of maybe in a Lord of the Rings related property might be animated form. At least that's kind of my first thing, and I like it. I think it's cool. All right, speaking of, and I mentioned this earlier, House of the Dragon, I wanted to kind of compare here, because House of the Dragon, if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, the kind of critic score is at 92%, the audience score is at 90%. That's pretty much been how it's been. They're pretty much in agreement for House of the Dragon. It's doing pretty well, right? As opposed to Star Wars The Acolyte. If we look at this, blame it on what you will, but I always, I start to question when you have, someone's doing something wrong. I feel like, maybe I'm wrong, but when The Acolyte has an 85% critic score and a 13% audience score, you start to wonder what's going on there. You can have that. One of the things too is I'm not big on the Oscars because, frankly, the movies that win, I don't always love. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I love them, and a lot of times it just feels like, oh, you're going for just really obscure That's fine, but it's not always my cup of tea. So again, just a critic. I'm always suspicious anyway of a critic anyway, and tend to believe the audience a little bit more, especially when you have that many people kind of doing something, saying that something's poor. And because a lot of times when this happens, the critic versus audience score, I tend to align with the audience. I have not watched The Acolyte yet. I know there's been all kinds of just terrible things bandied about by both sides of this argument. And there's always that it's just getting review bombed. I just find that often something that's review bombed is just an excuse, and nobody can actually fess up to hey, we did a bad job. The problem is I already have a bias against Star Wars right now. I'm so far behind because I've been Star Wars'd out. Disney just hasn't treated the property well. Other than creating Galaxy's Edge, which I have to hand it to them, going to Disney World and seeing and walking around in Star Wars land, which is Galaxy's Edge, and riding on some of those rides. It's amazing, but I wish that's all they did, frankly. If they could just stop there, and with the Mandalorian, okay, stop there. Mandalorian, Rogue One, they did fine with. Basically, most everything just garbage. There you go, my 2 cents you didn't ask for. Speaking of terrible things, Zack Snyder is related to, because I don't know how heavily related, but he's somewhat related. I think might be directing or something. Twilight of the Gods. It's an animated show with Netflix. He's done a Star Wars type thing with Netflix, Rebel Moon. It's gotten mixed reviews. I still haven't watched it. And then it's always this weird thing now with Snyder. It's oh, well, if you would have seen my cut of it. So I wonder what the Snyder cut of this animated show would be. You never know with him. But I just don't hold my breath anymore as far as what Snyder is involved. The problem is I feel like he does filmmaking very well, and he does visuals very well. It's just that his treatment of story is just kind of almost everything bad about cinema in general, where it's well, everything revolves around making this big cool thing happen, okay? And so as long as the cool thing is happening, and if the cool thing doesn't have substance, then it's yeah, sure, fine. You you sold us on the trailer, but what more? You got to give us more. You got to give, especially for people to come back to. And I think, Snyder's one of those it's starting to just feel a little bit like you're getting hoodwinked, right, with him, and just that it's all spectacle and not much substance. And that just too many things are following that, and I don't like it. Let's get back to less CGI and less crazy spectacle and just good old-fashioned writing. That's what we need more of. So anyway, there's my soapbox. I'll get off it. Thanks so much for stopping by. Thanks for checking out the links below for the Kindle deals. I always include them. I'm an addict. I can't help myself. So I hope you'll enjoy them too. They are affiliate links, so they do help the channel in the smallest degree, but they do. I do make something off of them. I like to kind of see who's enjoying them. I usually get a healthy amount of clicks, so I'm always happy to. But again, it's more for me, let's be honest. I just like the deals so then I can spend all my money again. But anyway, thanks so much for stopping by, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.